And just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. We've got a lot of information to share tonight. I'm so grateful to my colleagues for being here. They're each going to have an opportunity to speak, but I'll just quickly introduce myself, let you know who's here from the Sierra Club staff, and then go over a little bit of our meeting norms. So, first, hi, I'm Jordan Goodrich. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the chapter communications manager at the Lone Star chapter, and I'm going to be covering a lot of our storytelling elements and being kind of your MC for the evening. We've got Cyrus Reed, our legislative and conservation director. He'll be going over legislative 101 stuff with y'all. Evgenia Spears, our water program coordinator, talking about what to really expect in these meetings. And one of our incredible organizers, Shane Johnson, to talk about our power as constituents and what we're going to be going over. Other staff folks on the call are Natalie, and Natalie is going to be helping with the tech and things kind of behind the scenes. And then Agrippina is another one of our organizers who's going to be helping us out as well. So I would appreciate if everybody would stay muted as we go through the start of our presentation. If you have questions or anything that you want to offer in the chat, please, please, please go for it. Otherwise, hold your questions, hold on to them real tight, write them down, send them in the chat so that we can remember them because we're going to do our best to answer questions kind of at the end of each segment. That way we can stay within our flow, get us all out of here on time. I've got a movie night and some ice cream waiting for me. So I hope y'all have some exciting things waiting for y'all too. Okay, today we're talking about how to meet with your Texas state legislators. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this topic because for me, as a relatively new person to the Sierra Club community, I had never previously met with an elected official before this job. And I think that that kind of speaks to the fact that you don't necessarily have to have a professional background or experience in order to get started because everybody belongs in these spaces and everybody can learn the best way to use your power and your voice. So again, if you have any questions, shout them out in the chat and we will get to them as we can. Kind of went over it briefly, but once more, we're going to get into why we're here, Texas Ledge 101, your power as a constituent, crafting your personal story, what happens in a meeting, and then what we can do with all of this information that we're throwing at you tonight. And I can't see everybody here, but does anybody see Dave on the call? Just want to make sure I give him the opportunity to speak if he was able to make it.
No, I don't think he's been able to join.
No problem at all. So, Dave Cortez is the chapter director, an absolutely incredible leader that inspires us all. So, I'm going to try to step briefly into his shoes and just give us a little bit of grounding and purpose behind a meeting like this. So, I chose some photos that represent different engagement that the Sierra Club has been a part of at the Texas Capitol. We've been a part of protests. We've been a part of art engagements where we put together art outside of the Capitol and share with one another the stories behind the art that we're putting together. Cyrus and Evgenia have walked tens of thousands of steps. Some of our volunteers have come with us and walked tens of thousands of steps to every legislative office. And all of this work is truly to build and forge a better Texas for all Texans. We truly believe that by coming together, we can create a future that prioritizes clean, affordable, and reliable energy, where every Texan has access to clean and affordable water. Every Texan can breathe fresh air. And for me, it's deeply personal to be a part of this work because I'm raising two daughters and I want them to be proud of the state that they were born in. And I want them to be safe living here and playing here outside and swimming in the creeks that they love to swim in. And so I hope all of you today get the opportunity to reflect not just on our power and what we're going to do about the things that we want, but why you're here and why you want to be a part of this work too. And so, with that in mind, I'm a little bit curious. I'm a curious person and I have some questions. So, if y'all don't mind, I'm going to do a quick poll. And the first thing I want to ask is, have you ever met with one or more of your Texas state legislators? So that is your specific state representative or your state senator, different from your Congress people, different from your city council. And so what we're talking about here today is, yeah, specifically state legislators. Beautiful. Getting some yeses, some nos. Going once, going twice. I'm going to share the results so that we can see where we're all coming from today. And you can see we're almost pretty evenly divided between yes and no. And again, this is a space for all of us, whether you've done this before and you're looking to brush up on your skills or even share the wisdom that you've
And what's
acquired
going on
with
today?
new volunteers, or if you've never been a part of this and you're ready to get started, this is the place for you. And we're so, so grateful that you're here. And now I'm going to ask one more question. If I can get my little Zoom screen to pop up. I'm curious how you are feeling right now. So, with some of us having met with our legislators before, and some of us never having had the opportunity just yet, how does the idea of meeting with your state legislator make you feel right now? I know that there are so many different ways to describe our feelings, but I selected a handful of emotions that I wonder if some might be coming up for some of us, like excited, curious, nervous, angry, intimidated, grateful, just not quite sure. And to be honest, a lot of times I personally fall into that really not quite sure, butterflies in your tummy kind of feeling. So answer as authentically and honestly as you feel comfortable. And I'll share these results afterwards so that we can kind of see where we're all coming from. And if you are having an issue with the poll, you can always answer in the chat or elaborate in the chat if you'd like to share more. Going once, going twice. I'm going to go ahead and close out this poll and share the results. We have some excited representation. Some folks are feeling curious, nervous, angry, grateful, unsure, and maybe something else. And again, I just want to validate that all of these feelings are real. And I personally have experienced many of them as I prepare for some of these meetings. And I'm sure that my colleagues can attest to the same. Last one, I would like to do a quick, let's see. Oh, I need to stop sharing these results before I ask another one. I'd like to ask now about your confidence level. So, on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, how confident do you feel about meeting with one of your Texas state legislators? If you had the opportunity to meet with them right now, maybe it's over pizza, maybe it's over a drink, maybe it's in their office, but you're headed in. How do you feel? Going once, going twice. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. I see some people kind of moving around a little bit, so I'm going to eat my words and give it 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Ending this poll and sharing the results. This is a pretty solid distribution. I'm grateful to everybody for participating. We have some folks that are maybe feeling a little uncertain, some folks that are sitting kind of in the middle, feeling kind of confident and very confident. I'm grateful to all of y'all for sharing. Again, we all show up differently, and that is one of our strengths. We can learn from each other, we can share experiences with each other, and we can work as a team. None of us are in this alone. And if it weren't for my incredible colleagues, and the experienced volunteers that have taken the time to talk and mentor me, I would not feel as confident in my work as I do now. And so it's a journey for all of us to grow towards that. Like, heck yeah, I'm ready for this kind of feeling that I hope all of y'all feel at some point in your advocacy journey. And we'll talk about why in just a little bit. Okay, I think that ends my poll for just now. I'm going to get some water and pass it over to the incredible Cyrus Reed to talk to y'all about Texas legislature, what it is, why it is, how it is. Cyrus, let's hear it.
Yeah, and Jordan, I know you're getting water, but are you going to pass the slides forward, or did you want me to?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pass the slides forward. If I don't get the cue right, just let me know when you need it.
Okay. So, hey, and I have about 10 minutes. Is that
10 minutes on the dot.
okay? Cool. I can do it in 10 minutes. So, A lot of you are old hats. Some of this information won't be new to you. Some of you it may be new to, but we're going to talk Texas Legislature 101, how many senators there are, how many representatives, how the process works, and the fact that we're already actually in the legislative session, even though we're not officially in the legislative session, but we kind of are. So if you can go to the next slide. Um, there's four things to know about the Texas Ledge. Um, One is we call it the Ledge, or the Texas Legislature, or Texas Ledge, or the Ledge. There are two chambers. There's a state Senate and a state House of Representative. Every person here is represented by one state senator and one state rep. So you've got both, which means you can try to influence both. The official legislative session, and I'm about to say legislative session has kind of begun already, but the official one is 140 days, and that's in our Constitution, and it's going to run from January 12th, 2027 to May 31st, 2027. The legislature can meet in special sessions, but that's only if the governor calls it. Otherwise, we are a pretty unique state because we only meet every other year, only in the odd years, unless the governor calls a special session. And then I would say this, there's only one bill they have to pass, and that's the state budget. Other than that, if they met for 140 days and didn't pass a single bill, in some ways it might be better, depending on what they pass, but they do have to pass the budget. So next slide. And then, just like the United States government, the Texas Ledge is bicameral. There's a Senate and there's a House. We have a governor, a lieutenant governor who leads the Senate, a Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows, who leads the House. We'll get into these numbers in a little bit, but you'll see it is largely controlled by the Republican Party. But there are obviously Democrats and Republicans in both the state and the Senate. If you go to the next slide. But the three big folks are the governor. What does the governor do in terms of the legislature? He does make at the beginning of session sort of a big pronouncement. These are my legislative priorities. They can ignore them if they want, but he does make those recommendations. But his big power is in the fact that he can either sign bills into law if they pass, he can veto bills, or he can threaten to veto bills if he doesn't like certain things in them, and that may lead to changes. And then obviously he appoints the members of the state agencies that implement a lot of those laws. So law passes, then it goes to a state agency to be implemented. The people he chose are the ones kind of interpreting that law. So he has an important role there as well. Some say the most powerful person in Texas in terms of the legislature is not the governor, it's actually the lieutenant governor. And he is a statewide official voted in by all voters. There is an election coming up. We're not talking about that tonight, but there is an election coming up. But he names all the committees. He says who's the chair of the committees, who's the vice chair, who are the members. He determines which bills are referred to which committees, which can be very important. He controls the calendar of the Senate when they take up certain bills in what order or if. Um, and he also, if a bill passes the House, he can refer it or not to committees. And then if there are differences between a Senate and a House bill on the same subject, he'll name the conferees, the five members of the conference committee. So there's a lot of power in that. And then the Speaker of the House is kind of similar to Lieutenant Governor over in the House side. He names committee membership. He determines where bills are referred. He names the committee called the Calendars Committee that helps determine the order of when they take up bills. And he can refer Senate bills to committees, or he can hold them and do nothing. And he names the conference committee. So he also has a lot of power, like the Lieutenant Governor. If you go to the next slide. And right now, uh, currently in the House, there are 88 Republicans and 62 Democrats. There are a lot of races that are uncontested coming up in November, but every single member will have an election. We do have a lot of retirements or people seeking higher office. So I believe there are, this is from memory, I want to say there are 14 Republicans and 7 Democrats that definitely are not coming back. So there's going to be a lot of changes come November in the Texas House. Next slide, Senate, I believe is the next one. Um, Currently, there are 19 Republicans and 12 Democrats because there was one race when Kelly Hancock went over to the comptroller. There was a special election, and a Democrat did win that seat. So it's actually 19-12 at the moment. Actually, there's an open seat right now because of a retirement, but basically it's 19-12. But not every senator is seeking reelection. Some are seeking higher office. Some Senate districts do not have a race because it's not every 2 years. It's kind of they stagger them. So there's 16 seats that are up for election this year. If you go to the next slide. And then I said the legislative session has really already begun. And I said that because we're already in a period called interim hearings, which is pretty much now through November. Then there's the election. Then we already have pre-filing of bills. So even though the legislative session hasn't officially started, people are already filing bills come November 9th. And then officially the session begins January 12th, the 140 days. But really, anyone who went to that hearing, like Carol the other days, knows people are already talking about legislation. They're already coming up with ideas. They're already drafting ideas. So legislative session has really begun already. Next slide. Um, I think we've used this before. This was really to talk more about what we're doing, how in May we set out our draft priorities. I think we shared them with a lot of you. And then we actually officially released our legislative policy platform. And Evgeny and I went to every single office and also emailed them to every single office. I got an email today saying, hey, really liked your policy platforms. Remind us, what are your top recommendations on data centers? So people are reaching out. The hearings will continue, the interim hearings in July, August, September, October. There also will be state budget hearings starting in September, where each state agency will lay out their proposed budget and the public can actually make recommendations on that budget. We'll let you know when those are going to occur, but they should be in September. And then there'll be an election, but also each of those committees will come up with an interim report where they'll have recommendations for legislation for the upcoming session. So lots happening between now and December. Next slide. I don't know if I'm taking too much time. Um, how does a bill become a law? It's pretty much the same in Texas as it is at the federal level. Someone from the legislature has to file the bill. We can't file the bill. They have to file the bill. It then has to be referred to a committee. There has to be a public hearing on that bill in the committee, and then a majority of the committee members must vote it out of committee. But the chair has a lot of power. The chair can decide when to bring up a bill for a vote, right? And then it has to be put on the either the House or the Senate calendar. It has to pass that body twice, second reading and third reading. And then it has to be referred to the other chamber. And again, those lieutenant governor and speaker can kind of waste time and sit on these bills, or they can send them right to a committee, depending on how they feel. And ultimately, it has to go to the governor's desk. The governor could veto it. He
Governor.
he could, yeah, the governor. He could sign it, or he could just let it become law. So we're seeing that with at the federal level, right? With Trump, with the housing affordability bill, he's kind of sitting on it. He hasn't signed it yet. He hasn't vetoed it. Our governor can do the same thing. And next, that's a complicated sign. It's basically what I just said. We're in a period where, yeah, that's good. Here's the big statistic. Okay. Um, Most bills don't pass. There are thousands of bills filed. So last legislative session, there were 9,240 bills filed. 1355 did make it to the governor's desk. He did veto some, so about 15% of the bills filed. If you look at the statistics, if you're a Democrat, Democrats as a whole passed about 10% of the bills they filed. Republicans passed about 20%. That kind of makes sense. Republicans are in the majority, they have more power. So that makes sense. So it's good to know as we think about our strategy and bills who we need to reach out to. How am I doing on time, Jordan?
You're
Keep
doing
going?
great. I would,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
do maybe like another minute or
So
two for committees.
yeah, here's the action. The action all happens in the committees. And Carol saw this the other day in the interim committee. Um, if you want to pass a bill, you're going to have to influence the committee that has to do with the subject of that bill. So if you want to pass a bill on data centers and water, you're going to have to go to Cody Harris's committee because that bill is, I can guarantee it. I guaranteed you it's going to that committee. And that committee, they've got a staff, they've got rules, they have lots of power. The bills have to go through those committees. So that's why it's so key to work with those committees. Next slide. Um, we don't need you'll get these later, but there are some key committees in the House we work with: State Affairs, Natural Resource, Energy Resources, Environmental Reg. There are some others. Next slide. Appropriations Committee, which is the budget. Um, Intergovernmental Affairs, which are things like building codes, land and resource management, culture, rec, tourism, parks and wildlife. And then on the Senate side, there are really four key committees, which is finance, water, ag and rural affairs, business and commerce, and natural resources. And those are the committees that Sierra Club tends to spend the most time in. And there are other committees, but those are the key ones. And then we have a couple slides showing you these fine individuals. These are the power brokers for our issues. In the Senate, it's really those four individuals, and in the House, it's pretty much those four that are the most important for getting our work done. So if we can influence those people, Cody Harris, Landgraf, Ken King, Greg Bonin in the House. I won't say we're golden, but we have a leg up. So those are the people we need to focus on. Um, First thing we need to do, though, as constituents, is figure out who represents you. And at the free Capital uh, what was it called? Capital website. You can find out who represents you. I think we have an example here. I don't know if this was Shane that did this, but I believe it might have been Shane. His congressman is Greg Casar, who doesn't work at the Texas Capitol, but his representative is Cheryl Cole. His senator is Sarah Eckhart. And so Sarah Eckhart and Cheryl Cole are the people that Shane, I think this is Shane, needs to try to influence as a constituent. And if you go to the next slide, I know I'm probably running over time. Oh, I kind of mentioned these. It's easier to kill a bill than pass a bill. You saw that in the statistics. You need bipartisan support. You've got to show strong public support, but even more importantly, you've got to show unlikely alliances. We had a bill that we passed that was the Texas Chemical Council, the Sierra Club, and the home builders all supported the bill. That impressed them as well as the public support. Republican bill is easier to pass if you get a Republican sponsor. Getting someone on the committee to sponsor the bill is key. And if you can get the chair of the committee to sponsor your bill, then that's really good. And also, you want to get the bill in the House and the Senate filed in both places so that if it dies in one chamber, you're still alive in the other chamber. So it's, oh, I got it. Sorry, I'm looking at that. And the reason it's so important now is this is the time before they get super busy with the legislative session that senators and representatives and their staff are thinking about ideas. They're actively reaching out and saying, what should we do on data centers and water? What should we do on data centers and electricity? The members are drafting bills now. Yesterday, I was at a business and or 2 days ago, I was at a business and commerce meeting. We've been talking about a fortified roof program for a couple sessions now. They had somebody from the state of Alabama there who said it's working great to lower insurance and protect people. Suddenly, all these senators are interested in something we've been talking about for years. So now is the time to strike while it's hot because they're thinking about new ideas. And creating a relationship now means you can maintain that relationship throughout the legislative session. And again, if your senator or rep is not on the right committee, that's okay. They can still be a co-sponsor of a bill or support it when it comes to the House or Senate floor. They can still be important even if they're not on the right committee. So I think that's about it. Do they have, there's a bunch of questions. I don't know whether to answer them.
Yeah, we'll hold the questions for now. Keep them coming though, because we are
Sorry
going to
to them.
catalog them. No, you did great. That was awesome. Y'all, no one can compact as much complicated information into a 10-minute section like Cyrus, except for maybe Schoolhouse Rock, which is
Yeah,
how I originally
I
learned
forget
how.
about the amendment process, but that's another discussion for another time.
Exactly. There's always going to be more to discuss. Today, talking specifically about meeting with our legislators, that was absolutely the key information you needed to know. Before I call Shane in to talk about your power as a constituent, I invite you all to take a big deep breath in for 4 counts and out or 4 counts, because that's a lot. And we're going to keep going. I'm grateful that you're here. Hang in there. If you would like, maybe share like an emoji in the chat. Let us know how you're doing. All of our staff are checking out the chat, answering questions as we can. We have some community members that are answering questions in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. This is that wisdom that I was hoping you'd be willing to share with us tonight. So hit us up with an emoji. Let us know how you're feeling. And Shane, please talk to us about your power as a constituent.
Thank you, Jordan. I am just letting Norma know, and I will call on her to speak in a second. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. Thank you, Jordan, for leading the charge with this call. Thank you, Cyrus, for your great presentation. That was a really strong foundation for folks who are new to this, and a great reminder for folks who've been around on this front. Next slide, please. So we are more powerful together, and that's not just a mantra. At any organization that works to bring people together and train people for advocacy, uh, like the Sierra Club does around the state, or local groups are doing, for example, to fight harmful data center expansions, we know that the odds are stacked against us, since we're facing some of the most powerful and richest people in the world. But we know that when we bring enough people together, we can build the people power and the influence to combat the best paid lobbyists and make sure state leaders listen to us. Even when a lot of those state leaders are bought and sold by some of these companies, whether in the state or multinational companies. Um, we like to talk about how we need organized people to combat organized money. Um, and that's where you come in. And on top of that, your legislator needs your help to be able to do the right thing and have the capacity to show up the way we need them to. Um, Next slide. And I'll also say I've been trained, I've done trainings like this couple dozen times. I've helped train probably hundreds of people over the last 7 years. And everyone who's trained me has emphasized on the Texas legislature specifically has emphasized how important it is that we need to think of ourselves as an extension of their staff. Um, it, I think Cyrus talked about there's something like 10,000 bills last legislature session, and it's not physically possible for them to read through and understand all of those, let alone do all the other work. And that's where we come in as constituents. Um, but on top of that, we're not just random person showing up or volunteer. You are your legislator's boss. They work for you, the voters. Um, they have something like 80,000 bosses, which might be a little counterintuitive. Um, but they rely on they cannot get in office without uh, winning enough votes. There's only one way to win the election, that's getting enough votes. There's multiple ways to get enough votes, but for legislators who follow our values and who are uh, doing what they can to protect their constituents, fight problems, they have to be listening to us. Um, and uh, let's see. And they're constantly hearing from lobbyists and big companies big companies, small and medium-sized businesses, local businesses, um, but they don't often sit down with you, their actual boss, enough, and it's incumbent on us to make sure that happens. And they can't actually know, literally what's happening in a bunch of different spots in their district without hearing from their constituents, which means they can't truly do a good job, even if they completely agree with us personally, unless they're hearing from you, their boss. Um, next slide. Um, as organizers and community advocates, we always want to emphasize that you are the expert. You're the expert in your own experiences. No one knows what your life is like you do. And that's very, very important for any advocacy or community work, it's not just an idea that we talk about. Um, and so you need to make sure that they understand why these issues matter, not only to you, but to your community, and why they have to prioritize these issues. And if we don't show up and they aren't hearing that from you, they won't, at best, they won't know. They'll be ignorant of important things. But of course, many politicians aren't always going to do the right thing unless they are feeling constant pressure. Um, And then we really want to emphasize that people with lived experiences of a problem are the experts on the solution to that problem, because there's all these high-paid lobbyists and lawyers, technical experts who might do research on something, but um, we see so many examples of at different times where unless you're listening to the community for a social issue and you try to address it, a new problem gets created that they didn't anticipate. Or even worse, suddenly the state leaders and many people in the community feel like there is no problem anymore when actually it was never addressed in the first place. It just sounded like it or it looked like it was addressed. Um, and then this slide is very straightforward. Don't be afraid to talk about power dynamics, your gender, your race, other important identities, your age, your professional experiences, disabilities are extremely important to make sure that they understand. Um, and and to make sure that they know how you're impacted by these issues. And powerful people, they often don't listen to people with certain identities. And so, if you're talking to a very someone who doesn't align with you very well, I wouldn't jump in saying you're not listening to me because of my race or my gender. But of course, be aware and try to acknowledge and be real with them at the same time. And then I'm gonna hand it off to Norma for a second, one of our superstar volunteers, to talk about her experiences meeting with her legislator. And then I'll take it back from you, Norma.
Okay. So I had a very good experience with my legislator. I was very nervous in the very beginning, but we get a lot of support from the various Sierra Club team members. Shane, Matt Johnson, Dave, Cyrus, they were all there to support us, and they gave us pieces of information that would help us speak about the issues that we were concerned about. What was really important to me when speaking to my legislator was that I could speak about personal experiences that I shared on those particular topics. And of course, my legislator, House Rep, was Gina Hinojosa, and she was great. I also met with my Senator, Sarah Eckert, and they both were very gracious and listened well, and they genuinely were very concerned and eager to hear what my interests were. But like I said, I was very nervous in the very beginning, but the legislative team was helpful in that they paired us in twos. So you didn't feel like you were out there alone, and we helped each other by adding information that we were interested in. And what was great is that we had the piece of literature that gave us all the real specific information. Not when you go in as a constituent, you have how it applied to you, but you don't have all the nitty-gritty information about the bills. And so that literature that they give you was very helpful. And when it was all said and done, and we were done, it was incredible. I felt exhilarated. I was able to share back with Shane and Dave and tell them what a great experience it was. And I was looking forward to the very next time that we went out. It was really good. And the more you do it, the better you get.
Thank you so, so much for sharing your experience, Norma. Practice makes progress, is what we
Yeah,
say in my
right.
house. Thank you. Shane, you want to wrap up our power section?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Norma, again. Yeah, that's so important to hear. And we appreciate your time and energy and are glad it was a good experience for you. Um, so yeah, I'll wrap up what my section with reemphasizing the first point that I was making. We are more powerful together. So for the first time in decades, probably in modern history, for Texas, um, people are not only more politically active, but are truly beginning to realize that affects one directly affects all indirectly. And we saw that. We didn't just see that; we lived that and felt the harms of that. And many people died during Winter Storm Uri because of that. And that's been a powerful lesson that we've been forced to carry with us. Um, and we have to carry that and make sure that not just carry that, but make sure that state leaders are acting on that. Next slide. And this is also true, again on energy issues. This never stopped being true, and it's continuing to be a burgeoning issue with data centers and affordability, especially on electricity. Electricity prices are climbing more than twice as fast as inflation, um, mostly from the data center boom. And we're seeing people of all political stripes in every area of the state essentially um, frankly rising up in a way that not only has I don't think been seen before in modern times, but was not anticipated by state leaders. Um, and this isn't just my personal take or what we're hoping for in terms of impacts from Sierra Club. We're actually seeing this in the last couple weeks. And I'll quickly say too, on the left, this bar chart is the expected is a modeled growth of how much power data centers are expected to use. The two smaller bars on the left where we're at right now. On the right is this explosive growth modeled, which would be the same as adding three more ERCOT grids of power, which isn't realistic, but that's how big the models are. And so that's driving these climbing prices, and it's causing uh, experts like to the Texas Energy Poverty Research Institute to say our prices we're gonna face even more price rise increases by 29% in the next 5 years. And so it's gotten so and people rising up around this has gotten so powerful that Governor Abbott in the last couple weeks has put out a statement saying we need to address certain issues with data centers. Like so many people would never thought that would have happened even a month ago. And he just sent out, I think in the last week, a letter to state agencies saying this big transmission build out, which again is mostly for data centers, we need to make sure a lot of that cost doesn't go on to consumers. And these are things that we've advocated for years that we never in a million years would have thought Governor Abbott would speak out about. And that's how powerful everyone rising up and coming together on all of these different issues. And unfortunately, the harms that we face and continue to carry with us, that's how powerful we've all become as a result. Um, and Cyrus added this slide, but I think we can probably skip it for time.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and
y'all.
Carol was there. She saw the power, even though most people didn't get to speak, just the fact you had that many people coming in on a, what is it? What are we? June hot summer day. That was powerful, even though most people didn't get to speak, and even people not on the committee, representatives showed up to listen. So it was unfortunate that the chair didn't allow everyone to speak, but it still showed the power that they are listening. So I thought that was great.
Thank y'all so much. Okay, we've reached the halfway mark of this meeting. As a reminder, this special legislative action team, webinar goes until 8. I hope y'all can hang out with us, but if you have other plans or things going on, we totally understand. We are recording this and we will make sure everybody gets access to it. But I hope you can at least stick around until around 7:30 because now we're going to do an activity together. Cyrus, Shane, Norma, everyone has talked so far about um, having conversations with legislators, showing up and testifying at committee hearings. These legislators are listening to us, but what are they listening to? Ultimately, what they're listening to is your story. As Norma said so beautifully, the Sierra Club's really good at creating fact-based resources to help you in your advocacy work. What we cannot provide for you is your personal story. That's up to you to write. And it's my job and my privilege to get to help share the stories of community members and uplift the stories of folks that are impacted by the most egregious environmental injustices and issues that are happening across the state. But I am inviting everyone today to participate in writing a story for yourself that you can use as you start to or continue meeting with your legislators. So, in a moment, not now, but in a moment, we're going to go into breakout rooms and you're going to follow some prompts that will help you write your story. This is not a 500-word MLA APA format essay. This is hopefully a couple of notes on some scratch paper near your desk or on the notes app in your phone that can help you wrap your head around what you want to share with decision makers and what is most important to you in those moments where you might be feeling those nerves, or like me, sometimes you tend to freeze up a little bit, and those notes will help guide you through that meeting. I will reemphasize that storytelling is a key component of advocacy. It's where empathy and fact and emotion meet to drive long-term change. And so while you're thinking about your story, ask yourself these 3 questions. Why do I care? I care because of my girls. How has this issue affected me or my community? I live in San Antonio and our air quality is questionable at best. And that has impacted my family by uh, my daughter's asthma. She has trouble breathing, and that is in direct correlation with the industrial, just absolute explosion that has happened on the southwest side of San Antonio over the last couple of years. What change do I want to see? I want better air quality. I want more accountability for the industries that are causing this harm to not just my daughter, but I'm sure hundreds of children that live near us and that are going to school near these facilities. And so, as I prepare for a meeting with my legislator, I'm going to think about how I can convey this to him, Representative Philip Cortez, and what change I actually want to see. I'm going to write it, I'm going to refine it, and I'm going to just. So that's what we're going to do right now. This activity will be shared in the chat of your breakout room, so don't feel like you have to memorize it, but I'll go through it really, really quickly. First, I'm going to invite you to pretend you're heading into a constituent meeting without the anxiety, without the worry. Just make believe that you're getting ready for a meeting. Ask yourself those 3 questions. Why do I care? How has this issue affected me and my community? What changes do I want to see? Then you're going to write out the answers to those 3 questions to begin crafting your story. Refine it, add a couple of fancy adjectives, maybe a little bit of alliteration, and make it your own. And then after a few minutes, you'll read your story out loud to the group as if they were your legislator. If there's time, we're going to spend about 10 minutes in these breakout rooms. Y'all can offer constructive feedback to one another. There will be a Sierra Club staff member in each breakout room, so they can help facilitate, move things along, give you time guidance if you get stuck. But please, please, please take a moment to do this together. It can be a little fun, it can be a little sad, whatever's coming up for you is okay. But hopefully, it helps you to feel a little bit more prepared about what the heck you're going to say when you get into those meetings with your legislators. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I'm going to open the breakout rooms. Y'all should be randomly assigned to those breakout rooms, except for staff. I'm going to go ahead and assign you. We're going to talk next about what to expect for these meetings. So now you have what you need, but you might be wondering, like Doug is in the chat, what's the protocol? Where do we go? What should we ask specifically when we're ready and willing to set up these conversations with our legislators? And Evgenia is going to get into that. And then briefly, I'm going to walk us through some next steps that we have. And hopefully we will have time to address a couple of y'all's awesome questions. If not, we're going to keep them all and we are going to send them to you answers after this call next week. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and start. I think, yep, we're still recording. Wonderful. I'm going to go back with our slideshow and ask Evgenia to please walk us through this next section. Can y'all see this or no? Did I do it right? Do, 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 do.
I think it's coming up now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Take it away,
Okay.
That
Evgenia.
handsome guy. God, that guy's like the Brad Pitt of Austin, Texas.
Right. For sure. You can argue with that, Cyrus. Wonderful. So now that we talked about this story and we have the story, right? Hopefully everyone was able um write it, to write the main points, answers to those three questions. So now we're going to talk about the meeting itself, from how to set it up to how to follow up afterwards. So we'll discuss scheduling a meeting, what to expect, how to prepare, uh, how to behave, what to say during the meeting, how to follow up, and finally, we'll conclude with some unspoken rules or unwritten rules. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's a little bit of animation, Jordan, so click one more time. Thank you. I went fancy. So first off, how to schedule a meeting. For us to meet with the legislator, we need to have a set up time. So you can start with the website that we just discussed, Who Represents Me. Type in your address. I typed Bryan, it's the city where I live in, but you know, you can type in your address, like specific address. And in Bryan, I am represented by Charles Schwartner. And I thought, why not? We haven't talked in a while. Let's meet Senator Schwartner. So if you click on the name of the legislator and who represents me, a separate page will open on your computer with the legislators. It would be the legislators, let's call it the capital page, the main page, which provides a little bit of a background about the legislator. And I know we had that question previously, like, how do I know more? How do I connect? How do I relate to the legislator a little more? This page would be helpful, but as you see, it's a very brief background. But you can also, as Cyrus said, reach out to us, and we have access to Telecon or Quorum. Those are big legislative platforms that allow to get even more detailed information on background. So feel free to reach out to us. But that was a side note. But when you when you click on the name of the legislator who you like to meet with, and this new page appears. On this new page, you could see in-district addresses or their capital address. And I think the office is not listed in the capital address. But if you want to meet in district, just find the address that's closest to you. And you can also see the phone number listed. I don't know if they ever list an email, but the phone number is already a good start. And next slide, please. So now, once you have some contact information, whether it's phone or email, you can give them a call. And when you call their office, you start by introducing yourself and mentioning that you are a constituent. Then just be clear. I would like to schedule a meeting to discuss the issue of your concern, right? And then I assume the conversation naturally will flow into scheduling a meeting, comparing calendars, and so on. Let's say they provide an email and that's your preferred mode of action to reach out to your legislators. One thing I want you to keep in mind is that an email is not a text. So we have to create a letter, which includes the salutation and proper closure. In a closure, you put your name, and if you would like, you can also add your phone number and basically follow same practices as we just discussed. Introduce yourself in the email, mention that you are a constituent, say that you would like to schedule a meeting, and briefly describe the issue. So then if it gives you additional, if it gives you a peace of mind and you can reconfirm your meeting 1 to 2 days before the date. So for example, if you schedule the meeting 2 weeks from now, then you can sort of follow up and say, by the way, I'm still coming. Next slide, please. Okay, so what to expect during the meeting? First off, be aware that you may meet with the legislative staff instead of the legislator, but it's not always the case. It would be great if you can meet with the legislator himself or herself, but it may also be legislative staff. Meetings are relatively brief, so 10 to 30 minutes. You can discuss a lot within that time frame, especially if you're prepared and you are taking the most advantage of this meeting opportunity. You have to be ready with a clear and specific ask because likely you will be asked, what do you want me to do? So you need to have a clear answer to that, and hopefully it's incorporated in your story because remember the third element of the story was what change would you like to see? So the ask would fall inherently under that question. I don't expect the office or legislators or legislative staff to commit to solving your problem. It's something that you come so passionate, you come so maybe worried, anxious, you are looking for the solution, but it's highly unlikely that you will hear like, yes, we'll solve your problem from now on. It's our priority. You will also be asked questions that you cannot answer, and that's okay. And we talked about it. Remember, you're not an expert. Remember what Norma just shared with us? We're just concerned constituents. We are not experts in like water quality chemistry or whatever it might be, hydrology. We just all we know is how the issue affects us. And that's okay if you cannot answer questions, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. And finally, like with any meetings, schedules can change the last minute. So if they have to cancel your meeting with the legislator, just be sure you reschedule right away. Don't lose the momentum. Okay, next slide, please. So now I want to highlight that it's very, very important to prepare for these meetings. So first, learn about the legislator. That's a good practice, basic background research. Whether you go on the Capitol page, whether you reach out to us and Cyrus and I provide you with more detail, that's a like you want to know what the person cares about, right? What's the background of your legislator? I'm not talking about like a detailed voter history. You know, how they voted, what bills they carried, but just basic research. Then practice your story and be sure to have that clear ask. And at this point, Bob, if you're where you can unmute, could you share with us maybe a couple of tips on how to make sure that our ask is clear and specific in these visits?
Sure. First of all, if it is a lobby meeting, a Sierra Club lobby meeting, although you can mention your ask in your introduction, usually, in my experience, in my couple of dozen, we have some asks that the staff, Evgenia and Cyrus, have prepared so that everyone is on the same page for the limited amount of time we have. I start right after the introductions, as Evgenia said. One of the meetings I went to, he at the fairly early in the meeting, the staffer said, "And what do you want?" They are expecting an ask, and to get that out there and get it clear, and there can be several asks, but they should be everyone should be on the same page. So we're not having an ask from every single one that will be discussed that may be different, but we'll be working together as a Sierra Club. And then once the ask is made, you don't go into a long argument as to why it should be. Arguments don't convince legislators. The stories do, and you listen to the legislator and you find the value. For example, let's say, no, I don't want this. It's going to hurt oil workers. I've got too many oil workers. You go, yeah, we're concerned about the oil workers too, and we want to have provisions in there that will help anyone who might hurt their job, but a lot of them will be able to get jobs in this other industries, things like that. So make sure you're not arguing so much as listening and then connecting with values and connecting those values with the issue you're doing.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was I think everyone found it valuable.
Mhm.
And can we get the slides because I don't remember? Okay. Then when you come to the legislative offices, since we're talking about preparing, um, bring I highlighted here, bring a reasonable amount of relevant resources. The reasonable amount is that because we don't want to pile a bunch of papers on their desk and say, okay, this is all important, you have to read it. They won't. Something like a printed one pager, or maybe a infographic or some article of interest, that would be great. And they have to be absolutely relevant. You don't want to like share all possible relevant issues related to the issue of interest. So be super efficient with that. And then sometimes you don't go by yourself, you go with a group of friends, and maybe it feels more comfortable, which is totally fine. But it does require additional coordination ahead of time. So you need to decide who opens the meeting, who tells the story, who covers technical details. Remember, we don't need a lot of technical details. But technical details are part of the issue, so you will naturally start talking about some of it. Who makes the ask and who takes notes? Next slide, please. Now let's talk about how to make the most of your meeting with your legislator. First off, as you walk in the office, introduce yourself, thank them for the opportunity to meet with you. That's always good. State that you are a constituent and explain why you requested a meeting. They may not uh, remember from your email. And this is the time when you share why the issue that you came to discuss or few issues that you came to discuss matter to you. So this is the time for you to tell your story. And when you tell your story, again, I want to flag that don't overwhelm it with technical details. Lead with values as opposed to these technical aspects, and use facts and statistics or whatever other technical details only when they support your story, but to a reasonable extent. I hope you're catching my drift. I wish we could role play here and show how it's done. Maybe next time. Then make sure that your ask is clear and specific. As we discussed, the legislators would want to know, like, what do you want us to do? And essentially, it's the major takeaway from your meeting with the legislator. Listen and have a conversation. It's important to listen. We're listening not to disagree, not to respond, but we're listening to better understand where they're coming from. And as the slide says, you're seeking understanding and not victory. We're not here to win. Ask them for their time, or thank them for their time, and ask for their email. The email would be necessary for follow-up, where we'll talk about it in a little bit. Okay, next slide. Next, let's talk about a little about having conversation. I'll try to be fast here because things here are relatively obvious. Let's say you are asked a question and you don't know the answer, and that's completely okay. You're not a technical expert. So you can say a few phrases here, like an option, like, I don't know the answer, but I'd be happy to follow up, or I'd be happy to connect you with someone who knows better. And these are absolutely great options. Feel free to use these. And if they start talking about a different issue, it happened to Cyrus and I. We showed up in the office to talk about plastic pollution along the coast, but they wanted to talk about PFAS in North Dallas, which is also a very important issue. But if the conversation is deviating from what you are there to talk about, then you can always acknowledge that's interesting, but I'd like to focus on my issue today, because that's why I'm here today. Or can we return to your issue of concern? Um, okay, next slide. Trying to uh, move faster. If they ask you specifically, and they will, what you want them to do, be sure you have it super clear. And I know I sound like a broken record probably, but what are you asking them to do? I'm asking you to support something or to oppose something. I'm asking you to meet with someone. I'm asking you to attend a town hall meeting and so on. Like the very actionable ask. And then when you leave, we just talked about it, how you're likely not gonna get a commitment that your problem will be solved and it's gonna be like the only problem that they will focus on. So you can ask sort of action-oriented questions before you leave, like what are the next steps on this issue? Sort of put it on them. Or how can I be helpful moving forward? Who is the best contact for future questions? Or what additional information would you like for me to provide? Um, Next slide. Uh, it's not moving forward for me. Okay, here we go. I love Legos, by the way. So hopefully some of you too on the call. Um, Disagreement is a natural part of a conversation. It can happen. It can happen whether you like your legislator or not. We're all humans. We can disagree. So how to handle a disagreement? Remain respectful and calm. That's always throughout the meeting. Listen to understand and not to argue. It's important to listen. It's important to understand where they're coming from because we're trying to find a common ground here. We're trying to solve the issue together. Don't interrupt. In times of disagreement, it's so tempting to interrupt. Acknowledge their perspective and ask clarifying questions before responding. So that would help to not just straight argue. Stay focused on the issue and not on the person that you're talking to. For example, you don't say, your actions have resulted in high water bills for me. Instead, you say, high water bills are becoming a real burden for my family. I'd like to know what solutions are being considered. So you already feel the difference of the tone, right? Because remember, our goal is build relationships and find common ground that will help us constructively solve coordinate, talk, and solve the issue, as opposed to argument. Arguing won't help. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's just a couple of examples so we can be clear on this. So we are not saying, we are not accusing you're wrong or that does not make any sense. We'll just have to agree to disagree. This one is probably my favorite. But instead, say something like, I see this issue differently, or may I offer another perspective, or while we may not agree on everything, I appreciate the opportunity to discuss it. Next slide, please. Okay, how to express frustration. We sometimes, like, if we're passionate about the issue, we're likely frustrated about inaction on the issue, right? And again, broken record. Remain respectful and calm. That's very, very important for constructive conversation. Avoid accusations. Focus on the problem and not the person that you're talking to. A good tip here is to highlight how the issue affects you, how it affects your family and your community. And you can also channel frustration into a clear request for action. Like, you won't say, my water bill is ridiculous and legislators don't care, like my legislator doesn't care. Instead, you can say, rising water bills are becoming difficult for my family. Please make water affordability your priority next session. Or please support policies that help reduce costs for ratepayers. So that becomes a lot more reasonable and not confrontational. And again, remember your goal is to build relationship and trying to find common ground. Next slide, please. Okay, so a few phrases not to use. This is ridiculous. I'm sick and tired of it. How could you let that happen? We don't say that. Uh, in if we are frustrated, we can still I still believe in everyone on this call that we can stay calm and say, I'm disappointed because this issue has gone unresolved for a long time, or the issue has reached the point where many residents are looking for action. So that becomes softens it a little bit, right? But it still allows you to express what you feel. Next slide, please. A follow-up is really important. If you are meeting with a legislator in the office, ask them for their email because there's a lot more than you can share via email as opposed to a phone call. And once you're done meeting and you leave the office, send them that email. Thank them for their time. They met with you, they discussed issues with you, briefly recap your main points, restate the ask, and also offer to serve as a resource on the issue in the future. You can share the handouts, the electronic copies of handouts, and any information that maybe the office requested during the conversation, like you didn't know the answer to the question. You're like, oh, Evgenia knows. Well, it's not a blanket response, but I'm here if needed. And close with your name and contact information again. Um, Next slide, please. Okay, my last slide, I promise. These are some unwritten rules, but they're very important to have in mind. First, arrive early. Don't be late. And if you are as a group, be sure that maybe you coordinate somewhere in the parking lots in such a way that you walk in together, not just one by one. And the meeting starts at the same time with the group of people. Dress appropriately. And here, I'm not talking really about the suit. Just look neatly and clean and don't wear clothing with offensive language, pajama pants, beachwear, or ripped jeans. Um, just the rule of thumb is business casual. So keep it as close to it as possible. Uh, Many exclamation marks here. Be respectful and constructive throughout the conversation. Avoid accusations. Avoid going personal. It has to be professional and constructive. Then listen as much as you speak. Listen, listen, listen. It's very important for productive conversations. If you meet with the legislative staff as opposed to legislator, treat staff with the same respect that you would treat a legislator. And want to just tell you, approach this meeting with curiosity as opposed to confrontation. You may come with initial frustration, with initial problem that drove you to that office, but still be curious about possible solutions as opposed to criticizing the legislator. And also, it's okay to take notes during the meeting, but use pen and notepad. It looks completely different as opposed to like sitting in the office and typing on your phone or tablet or laptop. I believe that's all from me. I'm here for any questions at any time via email or call. Yeah, thank you.
You so much, Evgenia. That was so amazing. I wish that I had that before my first meeting, but fortunately I didn't wear flip-flops. So like doing okay, right? Um, I cannot thank everyone enough for being here tonight. We've got about 3 minutes left of our presentation time. And so I want to share with y'all kind of what we've been building up to over the last nearly hour and a half of y'all's time. We are coordinating our members and supporters and volunteers across the state to participate in these in-district meetings, these legislator meetings that we've been talking about all evening, because as you've heard over and over and over again, we believe that that is how we make change happen here in Texas. You have a story to share. You have solutions that you believe in. You have the support of the Sierra Club Lone Star chapter, the staff, and incredible volunteers. And we want you to meet with your legislators before the session begins so that we can really hit the ground running. I'll ask my colleagues to share the link that this QR code goes to in the chat. This is an interest form, so it's not guaranteed. I'm not trying to lock you into anything tonight. But if you are interested in meeting with your legislators, whether you have or you have not in the past, please fill out this form because we want you with us, whether it's this time or next time, or you decide to have your own meeting and you're looking for some resources to use. We are your support. The Legislative Action Team and the Sierra Club is here for you. If you sign up with this form, you'll receive our support, training materials, education resources. And if you're headed towards one of those legislator meetings and you're looking for a little bit more guidance, we're also offering one-on-one meeting time to prepare if you're interested. We want to send a small team of advocates to every meeting so that we're showing up in force. And like Shane talked about, building power together. So please, please, please take a moment to fill out this form using the QR code and your smartphone, or the link was set in the chat. I'm also going to offer y'all the next opportunity, the next webinar that we are hosting in July, titled cleverly, in my opinion, What's Offshore? Harnessing Wind Power in Texas. Offshore wind is an opportunity to build more power generation to help support the grid, and we're going to be talking about it. So sign up for that if you're interested in learning more about clean, reliable, and affordable energy in Texas. And again, thank you for being here tonight. If you have any additional questions besides the ones that have been shared, again, we will go through them, make sure everything's either been addressed, and if it has not been addressed, we will reach out and answer those questions. I will provide the slides, the recording, and everything next week when I get back from my vacation. And I mean, I've said it 1,000 times, but thank you. Your being here makes our work possible, and I cannot thank y'all enough for that. I'm going to hang out for 5 more minutes to answer any logistical questions. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we've got some pizza waiting for me. So thank y'all. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Bye. Thank you. Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.